Hello. Welcome to Merriment Mondays Live. I am your host, Merriment, Mary, Uncustomary England, and we're back for another topic on self love and joy. And this time we're talking about being weird. And before we get into it, let's talk about what went well and get in the vibe. So, all right, what I experienced this week was that Matt and I, well, in the past 2 weeks, I guess, it's bi weekly now, I had a date with Matt where we did an M theme. We went to get massages and we went to a museum and we went to a movie and we also ate meat. So that was our theme. And then the Twister movie was really fun to see. We really both enjoyed that. We also had fond memories of experiencing that when we were kids, and we both really wanted to uh, be tornado chasers when we were young, and that was interesting for both of us. And then we also did some street art, and I put a mustache on a statue, and we did some other things which were really fun, and you can stay tuned on my Instagram to see more of that. And for good news this week, let's see, we've got, well, outside in the world, there's some Lunchables. There were some 4,000-year-old Lunchables found in a 4,000-year-old civilization of Anatolia. Clay tablets have been found documenting a mundane but nonetheless fascinating aspect of culture, packed lunches. So the tablet speaks specifically to a Kultepe cheese that was part of a daily life for people in the region who, according to the tablet, used to carry it around with them on their journeys. Now, in terms of my good news, I saw this guy, well, I saw all these painted hubcaps as part of this retirement project. And this guy stopped at a red light and honked at me to let me know that he loved my bumper stickers and thanked me for decorating my car. And that was really cute. And then as far as the hubcaps, painted hubcaps, I actually like went up to the guy's house and I knocked on his door because his door was open, and I was like, "Hey, I really like your hubcaps," and I like asked him about them, and he said it was a retirement project for him, and that he found it really enjoyable and calming, and he recommended for me to do it if I liked it, and said it was really easy to do. Okay, so let's if you're watching this and you are interested in self-love or joy or happiness or personal development, and you are wanting to evolve yourself and feel better and spread joy, then how about you subscribe to this channel? That would be really great. And we have Mondays, every other Monday, there's a live video just like this, and we go over different topics through different lenses of how to practice self-love and feel happier. So you can subscribe to this channel. That would be really awesome. That may make me happy. And in terms of other ways that you can maximize your joy, I offer a really cool program, and it's the Neurodivergent Navigator's Path to Peace. Honestly, this is a mental health miracle. It's called the Merriment Makers, and it has the most individual and unique resources for any mental health and self-love thing online. There's the most resources of any online community, okay? You can feel good fast, and it's fun ways to relate to self-development and real life practices that'll actually get you feeling good, like moving up the scale of mood boosting activities, okay? Homework, challenges that are actually going to elevate your spirits and your standards. So it's not just theory up here in your head, it's body, neck down stuff, okay? And yeah, if you are exhausted and just trying to get through the day, we're going to make it better. You're going to actually enjoy your life. So you can actually start now. It's on sale for only $39. You can start and get access to 1,000 resources. All right. And you can do that. There's a little ticker down here at the bottom, uncustomary.org/merriment-makers, or you can just go to uncustomary.org and you can find it easy that way as well. And there's actually a whole module in there that is about being weird. Okay. So there's a whole thing. I think there's like 40 resources on just being weird. There's usually only 20 for every different topic, but I think on being weird, we actually made that extra long. By we, I mean me. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about. Oh, and did you know that you also get access to my Merriment making book? When you join, you get a whole book that's actually worth $100 because it's a program, but you get access to that digitally, and you also get a bunch of workshops as a bonus that are worth over $1,000. Okay, and honestly, just check out the sales page because I can't even do it justice. Truly, just talking about it, and I don't want to waste your time. So let's go. This week's topic is da 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 da. Where is it? Embracing your weird. So Felicia Day said it's hard being weird. No, it's hard living in a culture that makes it hard. Okay, so that is the truth, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing you need to understand is that being cool isn't cool. It sucks. Most people do a rinse, wash, repeat situation, and they don't question things, they don't rebel, they do what they're told, they don't push boundaries, norms, or beliefs, and it works for a lot of people. There's a reason a lot of the things in life are vastly popular. Big trends that you don't understand, you won't get those things the same way that a lot of people do. You won't get them. And that's the same way that most people won't get you, okay? The ordinary and majority is boring. It's not for me. It's probably not for you, and if you're here, that's probably why you're here. It's not for you either. You want something more, and that's okay. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're too much or that extra is bad or that weird is bad. It means that you're different and people aren't going to get you. But honestly, it weeds out what you need to focus your attention on, and it's so much easier, okay? Being cool is lame. That's old news. Being cool, what's cool is being weird. And I want you to be weird. It's not a 4-letter word. It's fucking fabulous. So what kind of weird are you? That just means like, what makes you different? And that could be a really long list. And it can be more than one thing that feels the most strong to you. And honestly, I do feel like this is a little bit of a double-edged sword because I think that identifying with something is very helpful for creating understanding and education and developing tools and finding community and resources. And once you begin to over-identify with that thing, you can potentially lose yourself behind that label, right? So for example, I'm weird because I do street art. I believe in the good in people. I dress brightly. I play the devil's advocate for perspective. I have a lot of mental illnesses. I'm fat. I've tried all the drugs. I'm obsessed with ducks. I have synesthesia. I'm optimistic, but I'm real about it. I've been recognized on the street. I've been on the news. I believe in astrology, right? Those are all weird things. And that's a non-inclusive list. These are things that I'm proud of mostly. And I'm also aware that if I continue to live behind these labels, I will not grow into more areas of weirdness, right? In fact, right now, I'm experimenting with the idea that I might not have mental illnesses. One by one down the list of all these diagnoses. And I'm starting to, I'm starting with the one that feels the hardest to imagine not having as a cognitive experiment. And I don't know how it's going, but it's a thought, right? Like, maybe I don't have Tourette's. What does that sound like? That's pretty weird. And what's the result of that happening? I'm realizing how attached I have been to that label. It's comforting to be weird in specific ways, right? Especially ones that have secondary benefits. And if you want to know more about secondary benefits, I recommend checking out that Merriment making book that you can get when you join the Merriment makers. But I know that my uniquenesses and my weirdnesses extend well beyond Tourette's and all the 11 other neurodivergences that I have. And even if I didn't have the symptoms or the labels of these things, I would still be weird. In fact, the space I would feel as a result of their absence would leave me more room to be eccentric in other ways that I find fun, in more ways. So if you find yourself clinging to weirdness as a crutch, imagine what it would be like to still have the memory of that experience. The compassion and empathy towards that group of people who also experience that and identify with it. But to also not be in the trenches with it yourself. That said, not all weirdnesses, not all aspects of weirdness are crutches. Some are purely exploratory, and most of them will be able to be identified through ways that you've been told that you're different. You notice that you don't match the majority or simply what feels good, right? So even if you're even if other people are doing it and it feels good, it doesn't really matter if you're the only one doing it or if 5 billion other people are doing it too. You don't need to be a weirdo in everything you do. If you like Nickelback, right? You can still identify as a weirdo if you enjoy something that the majority likes, is what I'm trying to say. There are certain things in life where I can only lead you logistically so far, right? Like sex or laughter. I can tell you how to kiss, or I can tell you um, how to construct the mathematics of a joke, or how to structure a herald in an improv scene. But at the end of the day, there's still only like a pheromone and an indescribable visceral feeling and understanding of what you like, right? And what you like is probably weird. Just assume that it is and move on from there, okay? It can also feel unsafe to be weird. And we have a whole masterclass on this taught from a therapist inside of the Merriment Makers. And it can also, many of us have been wired to believe that we need to please people because it's where our worth is derived from, which is quote unquote a good girl or good person complex. And there's a whole masterclass on that inside the Inger module in the Merriment Makers. And it's also important to think about how much of what you're doing is influenced by the curation of what other people might see or infer or hear secondhand about you. So if you think about what you're doing or posting or how you're behaving, are you thinking about, is someone going to read this? Is someone going to see this? Is someone going to eventually find this in my diary or find these pictures? If it might even reach as far as an ex's potential new girlfriend you haven't even met, right? Or a cousin on Facebook you'll probably never see again, but you know that they can see you. Is that in the back of your mind? Are you actually going out in public, taking photos, making life decisions, or doing anything because these people exist and could comment or have a thought about you and your life? So sometimes we're weirdos as an act of rebellion, and it can start there. Sometimes it's important to start there, but we don't always want to live in a space of I'm doing this because fuck you, right? We want to do this because we enjoy something. It's a fuck yes for us, not a fuck you to someone else. You are a star. You're awesome. So stars shine bright. And think of like your favorite celebrity. Would they have gotten where they did if they let other people stop them from being themselves, or if they only did what they did because they were trying to think about other people perceiving them a certain way? So you don't want to live in fear of this word gets thrown around, authenticity, because people are judgmental. So I was just watching the X-Men with one of the X-Men movies, the X-Men, with Matt, and one of the movies, it's Magneto versus Professor X, and they're both really, there's the mutants, right? And these two people are kind of like the leaders and the thought leaders of the mutants, and mutants are, let's call them weirdos, right? And Magneto believes that they both believe that the mutants are special, which they objectively are. They're different. And Professor X is like, these mutants are special and they should be integrated among society, and we should be able to live among everybody else just like you guys are. There should be no difference. There should be no, let's just all get along, right? And then Magneto is like, yeah, we are special and we're better and we're like a superior kind of race, right? So it's like they want the same things but in a different way, right? And it's like, we don't need to be like a quote unquote superior race, but you gotta have to think about your lens of how you value things. What is your manifesto or mission statement as a weirdo? Do you want to live among the normals and be accepted and just be like, yeah, this is how I do things? Understanding that I had autism was a big way to understand myself and be like, oh yeah, that's why I do that kind of stuff. And there's really need to really be done about it, but it's all about like acceptance and getting it. So do you want to live among the normals and be accepted and just be like, yep, sometimes I'm going to do this and you're just going to have to get it? Or do you want to make it so clear who you are and not necessarily be superior, but have your differences denoted? And so Like, there's a difference between kind of going into a room and being like, yeah, I'm here, I'm wearing a rainbow, I am the rainbow, and you guys all wear your gray clothes, and I'm just part of this, and there's nothing really different about me other than the fact that I'm wearing the rainbow thing? Or do you want to walk in and be like, I'm the rainbow, pay attention to me, and like make sure that we comment on it? Does that make sense? It's kind of like there's a, like, how much do you want to make a note of it, or do you want to be integrated with it and not have it be not an issue but a topic of conversation? So in the weird masterclass, how to embrace your weird inside the Merriment Makers, we talk about bullying, your being, how your version of weird is perfect, how you're not actually awkward. A lot of us think that we're socially awkward, but I'm going to tell you why you're not. How being weird is actually a divergence. We talk about neurodivergence and mental illness, but how maybe being weird is a divergence. Moving past what other people think, how to do that, how to pretend that you're famous, replicating existing weirdos, befriending what you think is weird, ordinary weirdos, using your weirdness to create a revolution. And there's also an entire extra masterclass on eccentric people. Plus, I mentioned that there's a masterclass taught by a therapist about why feeling weird is physiologically, scientifically, biologically something that makes us scared from our subconscious, from our physical brains. And inside of the module, you'll also get, so I mentioned the Embrace Your Weird Masterclass, the Iconic Weirdos Masterclass, a workbook, Is It Safe to Be Weird workshop, EFT tapping on calling in more weird, what to do when you're worried your weirdness will be rejected podcast, meditation, 145 ways to be weird, weird things to try resources, 220 weird TV, movie, and documentary recommendations, weirdo book recommendations, 4 in the field challenges, phone backgrounds, art posters, desktop wallpapers, inspirational quote images, inspirational quote lists, Pinterest board, a weirdo anthem playlist, positive affirmations for weirdos, and bonus resources. Okay, so get the 145 ways to be weird list, I'm going to put in the comments, in the caption, and that's free for you to get today. And there's 4 months worth of ways to explore the stranger side of life to be a weirdo. All right. And today I want to give you also 2 free positive affirmations. My weirdness can start a revolution, and I get to build the roller coaster to let other weirdos ride. Okay, because by being a weirdo, by embracing whatever makes you weird, by understanding that your weirdness is your superpower, you are creating a permission slip for other people to be like, oh yeah, I can do that too. So I always give the example of the fact that I dress the way that I do. I get a lot of comments when I'm out. A lot of people will ask me if it's my birthday, where am I going? Am I going to a party? What is the special occasion? And I delight in having the answer of, it's not my birthday. I'm not going anywhere. This is just what I'm wearing. I'm going to the grocery store. And when I tell people that, sometimes there's a bit of a judgment, and most of the time there is this kind of like reset that I get when people are asking me what I'm doing when I'm installing street art. It's, why would you spend your time doing that? I don't get it. What is this for? This is not what we've been told that we could or should do, right? And then there's this opportunity that happens. So there's this like bigger, broader thing of judgment that happens first. And then there's that curiosity of like kind of understanding it and being like, I'm processing it. And then after that, and so we're losing people on each one, right? Most people are judging it first. More people, we lose some people, and then they process it. And then we lose more people. And then the people that are ready to make a move right here, they'll say, oh, and then they get it. And I can tell at this point when people say something like, oh, and I know that they're ready to do whatever the fuck they want to do. It doesn't need to be the dress. It doesn't need to be their fashion. It doesn't need to be their outfits. But it does mean that they figured out that by me doing whatever this is for myself, that they are ready to start doing something for them that they've been like, oh I can't do that. That's too weird. People are going to think weird about me. Like, that people are going to judge that. People are going to wonder why I put so much energy into that. People are going to think that that's too childish, that that's not appropriate, that that's not professional. Those are big fears that we have about not being adult enough, about not being professional enough, and about not being appropriate enough. And I have to tell you that all three of those things are deeply subjective. None of those things are fine, like, none of those things are definitive definitions. They don't really mean anything. They are things that we have constructed in society to put people into boxes, into cages, into chambers of conformity and patriarchal bullshit. So if you've been told that you're not being adult enough, that's just another way to say that you're not acting with enough conformity. Same thing for professional, same thing for appropriate. What is appropriate? Appropriate for one setting varies drastically to another. The same thing for a professional, the same thing for adult. So if you're worried about any of those things, stop and do what you want to do, because I want to tell you that I dress like this every day and I pay my rent with all of it. So you can do anything you want to do. You can. You're the hero. You're the star of this. And it might be a transition period, but you can. You might moonlight at first. You might morning light at first. It doesn't matter. But you have to fucking start. Because this is your one precious life that you fucking know that you have. And are you going to waste it being worried that you're not being adult enough when you can't even define what that means? Bitch, please. Fucking please. No. Get in the weirdo roller coaster so other people can ride. Okay, so your homework is to clarify what your kind of weirdness is. What kind of weirdo are you? Make that list of what makes you weird. Remember my list? Make yours. And then figure out what the one that excites you the most is. And then from there, I want you to figure out how you can tangibly act, really do something actionable, real, out in the world that is in alignment, congruent, makes sense with that weirdness. So if you're like, I'm weird because I'm obsessed with dogs, like too much, that everybody says it's too much, right? Then I want you to do something that makes sense, that is connected to dogs, okay? That's another word for aligned or whatever, connected, okay? So if you, and a big way to understand what weird is too much and not enough. That's something you've been told your whole life, right? It's too much, it's not enough. So lean into that. Make the list of what you're too much or not enough of. And then think of what one you're like, that's the one that I really wish. This is another tip. This is a big tip. Going a lot away here. Which one do you wish, if you had a magic wand overnight, that society just was like, it's fine. This is the one that we're doing. This one is fine. Overnight, I wish that it was totally cool to just be quiet in social settings. I wish that it was totally cool or that everybody else was painting the fronts of their houses orange. I wish that everybody else got that it was really cool to just go back to posting pictures on Instagram. I wish that everybody else didn't care that I put stuffed animals all over my house. I wish that everybody else in society didn't tell me that it was weird that I had tattoos on my face. You know what it is? You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is that you wish you didn't get shit for, that everybody else participated in, that nobody cared about, that's the ticket. And then write down an action step of how you can do that thing for yourself, get a part of it, and then eventually you'll do something that brings other people into it. So the merriment making method is about embodying joy, creating joy, and then spreading joy. So first we feel good so that we can do good. And if you're interested in that, Merriment Makers, 80% off the first month. You start for $39, okay? And then you can stay. All of the other payments are still 73% off. You can lock that in. You'll be grandmothered in forever. I'm not changing the payment price, okay? It's usually hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. 1,000 resources. Okay. Uncustomary.org/merriment-makers. Okay. And your last thing I wanted to show you was I have a Merriment making deck. This is 111 cards of things to do out in the world. And this one is to dance with a wacky inflatable tube man. I pulled one that was specifically for being a weirdo. I thought this was a good one. And I have an example of me dancing with one. So there you go. And that's the end of our day. That's the end of our call for today. And I will see you next time. Our next call will be in 2 Mondays from now, which means that will be August 12th, Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And I haven't released the next topic yet, but it will be good. And if you want to get in on the sale, uncustomary.org/merriment-makers. And you can get the free 145 ways to be weird for 4 months worth of ways to explore the stranger side of life down below. And you can also just type in uncustomary.org/145-ways-2-be-weird. Or you can wait for the link. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing your time with me. Remember, you have to feel good to do good. I love you. Bye-bye.